What up guys? So before I start this video, I want to say a few things about my How to Play Drums Like Lars Ulrich video. Because a lot of people in the comments have been like, yeah, I fucking hate Lars Ulrich as well. And I'm like, I think you're missing the point, because I don't hate Lars Ulrich. I've got nothing against the guy. I mean, sure, he's not as good as he used to be, but I don't have anything against him personally. I've never even met him. I actually really enjoy his work in the early Metallica, and to me that's the beauty of it all. It is that you can enjoy something, but you can still recognize its flaws and realize that it's not perfect, and then have a little fun with it. Alright, enough about that. I wanted to do something new with this channel, and I thought what better way to do so than to give you guys a little peek behind the curtain and talk about some of the drummers that really got me into music and to drumming in general. Now, this is not a list of the top 10 fastest drummers out there, nor is it a list of the top 10 most technical drummers. Hell, it's not even a list about the top 10 best drummers. What this is, however, is a list of the 10 drummers that have inspired me the most and that has had the biggest personal impact on me as a musician and as a person. Therefore, it'll all be very subjective, and if I don't mention your favorite drummer, it doesn't mean that I don't recognize his talent, it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate his work. It just means that he's not one of the 10 drummers that inspired me the most. However, if there are a bunch of drummers that you feel I might be missing, or that you can imagine that I'll enjoy checking out, leave a comment, tell me about it, and I'll look forward to read it. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Coming in at number 10, we have the nicest guy in rock, Dave Grohl. Dave's probably best known as the frontman of Foo Fighters, but he's a great drummer as well, and trust me, he's played in pretty much every single band ever at this point. He's played in Nirvana, Queens of the Stone Age, Tenacious D, Them Crooked Vultures, Metallica, Slipknot, Spice Girls, and it turns out that he was actually Mozart all along. Aside of just being a great drummer overall, Dave just seems like such a nice person. In every interview I've seen with him, he just seems so sincere, so polite and relatable. He doesn't let fame go to his head, and I respect him for that. At number 9 we have Scott Phillips, otherwise known as the guy from Alter Bridge. I don't really have a lot to say about Scott, since I honestly don't know much about him. All I know is that I really love his drumming in Alter Bridge, both live and in the studio, and I especially enjoy his work on the Blackbird and Fortress albums. I've got a whole bunch of songs from Alter Bridge that I'm learning to play at the moment, and it's just a huge inspiration for me as a drummer. And for the number 8 spot, I've chosen Troy Wright, who some of you might actually have stumbled upon here on the YouTubes. Troy is a drum teacher from the Gold Coast of Australia, and every now and again, when the star's in the right position of course, he'll upload a video to his YouTube channel. This guy is extremely technically skilled, and he is very creative in the way that he interprets songs and infuses them with his own style. He uploads all sorts of covers, remixes, medleys and lessons, and he's just an absolute blast to watch. I mean, just look at this shit. This is from a show he played with Plini. Number 7 is Mike Mangini, also known as the other Mike from Dream Theater. Now, back in 2011, when Dream Theater announced that Mangini would be replacing Portnoy, I was not amused. Not at all. The band later went on to release A Dramatic Turn of Events, and I was like, well, this is actually pretty good. And a few years later they released their self-titled album Dream Theater, and I was like, alright, this is really good. I've seen Dream Theater live 2 times before. One time with Mike Portnoy and one time with Mike Mangini. And what do you know, both shows were awesome, but in 2 completely different ways, because Mangini is very different from Portnoy. They're both very talented drummers, but in 2 completely different ways, and I just happen to like both of them. A lot of people prefer one Mike over the other Mike, and that's completely understandable, because they are just 2 completely different entities. Coming in at number 6 we have none other than the king of drums, John fucking Bonham. At first I didn't really want to put Bonzo on this list because it just seemed so obvious that the drummer from Led Zeppelin would be on here, being the legend that he is. However, here he is, and you might be asking to yourself, if he's the king of drums, why is he not number 1 on this list? Well, dear whoever you are, Bonzo is probably one of the most iconic and most well-recognized drummers in the entire history of rock and roll, but there just happens to be a few drummers that inspired me the most personally. And that's what this list is all about. This is not about the most famous drummers or even the best drummers, otherwise few people might argue that John Bonham should be a little bit high on this list. But this is a list of my personal favorite drummers and they are ranked as such. From one classic rock drummer to the other we have Mitch Mitchell, best known for his drumming with Jimi Hendrix. Mitch is one of those drummers where, even though he played over 50 years ago, if he broke out in the music scene today, his style of playing would probably still be considered very innovative and groundbreaking. A lot of people praise Jimi Hendrix for his innovations on the guitar, but for me the drumming is equally as groundbreaking and interesting to watch, and I have not heard this kind of drumming anywhere else. Moving a bit forward in time to the edgy 2000s, we have Chad Seliger, or Chad Seliger. Chad Seliger, Chad... Oh, God fucking damn it. Alright, we'll just call him Chad for the rest of this video. Anyway, Chad is one of the many drummers to have played in Breaking Benjamin, and he played drums on the albums Phobia and Dear Agony. Or at least I think so. I mean, their lineup has always been this massive clusterfuck of band members just getting fired left and right, and I honestly just don't bother keeping up with all the legal bullshit that's going on in that band. Anyway, I was first introduced to Breaking Benjamin from one of their songs being in Halo 2. I went to check out the band and I discovered the album Phobia, and the drumming on that album has really been a huge influence on my drumming. Alright, here we are. Top 3 everybody, this is getting exciting! Gavin Harrison, known mainly from Porcupine Tree, is, in my opinion, one of the most impressive living musicians out there. Not only is he a phenomenal drummer with an amazing sense of groove, timing and polyrhythmics, he also has one of the most impressive understandings of music in general. Instead of just playing a bunch of fast and super complicated fills, which he also does by the way, Gavin Harrison focuses more on why he plays the different parts and how various drum parts can change the overall feel of a song. Harrison's drumming is some of the more consistent, tasteful and just well thought out drumming that I've ever heard, and for that, he's my 3rd favorite drummer. And number 2 is the first mic from Dream Theater, good old Porn Toy. Dream Theater is one of the bands that really made me want to take my drumming to the next level, and hearing Panic Attack and Pull Me Under for the first time just changed everything for me. Sure, Portnoy plays a lot of the same diarrhea fills over and over again, but if there's something I'm really impressed by, it's his ability to create these super imaginative and very complicated drum parts and make them sound so simple and make them fit the music perfectly. I mean, every idiot can play a drum beat in a 7/8 time signature, and some idiots can even play polyrhythms, but it takes a true idiot to make super complicated and highly technical drum beats sound so natural and organic in a song, and that's something that I really applaud Portnoy for doing. And here we go. My number 1 favorite drummer of all time is... drumroll. Wait a minute. That can't be right. Alright, 1 second. Where are my notes? There. Alright. These are all blank, why am I lying to you? But yeah, there you have it. Tempo dropping, fill forgetting, Napster hating, bass removing, snare drum mistuning. He left the fucking band shouting, neither English nor Danish properly speaking, Lars Ulrich. I just really like that guy. Alright, before you start typing death threats in the comments because my personal opinion is different from yours, hear me out. Metallica's Master of Puppets was some of the first metal I ever listened to, and Lars is probably the single biggest reason why I'm playing drums today. I would argue that Lars was actually a great drummer in his younger years, but he's just really let himself go, which is a shame, really. Many of his drum patterns are very well thought out, and some of them are just downright impressive. Lars is obviously not the worst drummer in the world, but I think it's important to note that he's not the best one either. I still go and see Metallica play live every now and again, and I still enjoy it, but I'm just not blown away in the same way. Personally, I would love to see Lars get his shit together and return to his former glory, but he just keeps messing up, he keeps forgetting things, and he keeps making a fool of himself. I once read an interview with Lars in a Danish magazine where he explained that he doesn't practice drums and he barely plays drums beside his work in Metallica at all, because he doesn't feel that he needs to practice. And it shows. However, Lars has something completely different going for him. I would argue that Lars is probably one of the most, if not the most, influential drummer in the entire metal genre. Why is that, you might ask? Well, Lars is a founding member of Metallica, which is probably one of the biggest and most well-known metal bands of all time, along with Black Sabbath, of course. Now, I can guarantee you that pretty much every newer metal band that you like, from the 90s to now, is either directly inspired by Metallica or inspired by another band which is then inspired by Metallica. Without Lars, there would be no Metallica, and without Metallica, there'd still be metal, obviously, and it would obviously still be good. But I think it would be a lot different with so many bands being inspired by this massive Metallica entity, removing this giant source of inspiration for thousands, if not millions of bands. I think that would have a massive impact on metal as we know it. I've made fun of Lars on this channel, but I also think that credit should be given where credit is due. What can I say? I love Lars Ulrich, but I also like making fun of him when he deserves it. Like when he doesn't practice. So anyway, those are the 10 drummers that have inspired me the most, and I would very much like to hear what drummers you look up to. So leave me a comment, and I'm looking forward to read it. And remember, Lars is love. Lars is life. God, why?